Let me be clear, defaulting on our debt is not an option. A no strings attached debt limit increase will not pass. But since the president continues to hide, House Republicans will take action. In the coming weeks, the House will vote on a bill to lift the debt ceiling into the next year, save taxpayers trillions of dollars, make us less dependent upon China.
That was House Speaker Kevin McCarthy at the New York Stock Exchange yesterday. McCarthy says that the GOP's bill will roll federal spending back to fiscal 2022 levels, as we expected. He will recover unspent COVID-19 money and limit future spending increases. Interestingly, he just said in that speech that a clean debt ceiling bill will not pass. In other words, a bill with no strings attached, which is what President Biden and the Democrats are trying to get through. Joining me right now is Ohio Congressman and member of the House Financial Services, Foreign Affairs, and Select Committee on the Economy, Warren Davidson. Congressman, good to see you. Thanks very much. You know, no matter how you slice it, you keep coming up with the same things. 2022 spending, no clean bill. You got to have strings attached. But the president is on the other side. You've got no promises that he's not going to veto it.
Yeah, well, Joe Biden hasn't done much to help America's economy since he's been there. In fact, he's caused lots of damage, and that's part of why Republicans control the House today. We have to change course. The country said we have to change course, and Republicans are saying, look, we shouldn't default on our debt now, but we also shouldn't default on our debt in the future. How do you refuse to take even the slightest step towards some sort of fiscal discipline? That's the debate today.
But will you have the support in the Senate?
Well, look, our job isn't to run the Senate. Our job's to run the House, and we very clearly have said that there will not be a bill that is just clean. We're going to get something. The American people sent a Republican majority to the House. They expect us to move forward a Republican agenda that involves fiscal discipline and, frankly, involves reining in the Biden administration's not just spending. They're bankrupting America not just financially but morally. All these strings attached, even to the so-called Inflation Reduction Act. We all know it was a climate change bill. Joe Biden bragged about it at the State of the Union, and it's causing incredible burdens even on infrastructure, where like a third of it was really going to infrastructure. It costs a massive amount of money compared to what it would cost to get the exact same road or bridge built due to mandates from the Biden administration. So we have to streamline this, and we have to build back American energy. Energy and housing are driving inflation, and Biden's policies are making all of them worse.
Yeah, but they keep, getting one over on you. I mean, let's face it, before the Republicans even took control at the end of last year, the Democrats jammed through another massive omnibus bill, $1.9 trillion, knowing that you were about to take over. Democrats this morning are slamming McCarthy's speech. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is criticizing the House Speaker. Here's what he said. Watch this.
Speaker McCarthy continues to bumble our country towards default. Speaker McCarthy today quoted a great Yankee, the great Babe Ruth, saying, quote, "You just can't beat the person who never gives up." Well, first, Speaker McCarthy, don't quote a Yankee to me in New York City. Second, the Speaker's right. He's never given up. However, that's only because he's never started. No plan, no progress, no persistence.
So how do you respond to this? They're just going to continue attacking the Republicans.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see Schumer, a Yankees fan, become a Dodger. He's essentially dodging the issue by continuing the same, mantra. Oh, we're not going to negotiate. And we very clearly are. The American people didn't send us here to surrender and do nothing. We're going to fight for the things that we were sent here to fight for. And that means we're going to change course. We're not going to bankrupt the country today or tomorrow. And we're not going to do it financially or morally. We're going to have a fight over this. And if the Democrats continue to refuse to negotiate, they all know there's at least $1 somewhere that you can cut, and the Democrats won't talk about a single thing. We have to change course. It's self-evident. Our financial system's pleading with the world. You have to change course. You can't just print money. You can print the money, but it won't buy the same amount of stuff, and every household knows that. They're feeling the pains of this inflation right now.
So do you think you'll be able to have a bill passed by next Friday, which apparently is the goal here?
Yeah, I think we'll get a bill through the House. I'm encouraged by the collaboration amongst my Republican colleagues. It would be great to see some Democrats join up. I understand kind of at this phase of the negotiation, it's probably more like a team sport. But the American people know they can't continue on the path we're on today. So I look forward to getting that bill across the line next week and making progress in the negotiation.
Congressman, let me switch gears and ask you about this other veto that the White House is planning. They said that they're planning to veto the GOP's Protecting Women's Sports Act if it passes both the House and Senate. The White House says it discriminates against transgender students. They write, quote, politicians should not dictate a one-size-fits-all requirement that forces coaches to remove kids from their team. So, look, you have this bill, and the White House says protecting women in sports is not going to fly.
That is the exact purpose of Title IX. Look, my daughter went to state as a cross-country athlete in high school. She ran in college. She wouldn't have even been on a varsity team for most boys. That's what's going to happen is you'll have one biological. Look, there really are XY people and XX people. Maybe we can define sports that way based on chromosomes instead of words like gender. They really mean cross-sex. They don't mean some sort of spectrum. It's really binary. You're either an XY person or an XX person. Physiologically, the differences in sport are amazing. That's why we created women's sports, and we need to protect the women who deserve to be able to compete and win.
I don't understand why the White House would not see that, but they are going to veto it because they say they need to protect transgenderism.
Well, they can side on that issue. I think this is an 80-plus. In my district, we polled it last election cycle. It was 86% issue.
Yeah.
I mean, our district's not that red. So it's pretty bipartisan. There are a lot of women like J.K. Rowling, like Martina Navratilova, who are far left on lots of issues, but they recognize, the distinction when it comes to women's sports. And look, if somebody wants to do whatever as an adult and modify their physical attributes and take chemicals and whatever, I suppose that's probably legal, but that doesn't entitle you to win the women's category of the New York Marathon, or it shouldn't anyway.
Yeah. It's just extraordinary. Congressman, thank you very much. We'll keep a spotlight on it. We'll keep watching. Warren Davidson joining us this morning in D.C.